Welcome to Beat the Dip, our annual look at how to avoid the Christmas blues. My name's Andy Clark. The idea of the Beat the Dip is that you stay busy right up to Christmas and you start the new year with a bang. So what is the dip? Well, if you look at the blue line there and say that represents the sales of a practice and the dotted line's the break even, at some point during December this is going to happen. The blue line's going to drop below the dotted line, and at that point you're losing money. It's going to go down to Christmas, it's going to bounce off Christmas Day, come back up, and at some point come back out above. But of course, you've had that murky time where it's actually been costing you money to stay in business, and it doesn't always make for a very merry, festive season. How do we go about beating the dip then? Well, the simple answer is get into it as late as you possibly can and get out again as fast as you possibly can, so you make the dip as small as possible. Well, one way is to simply do more recall. If we say that the blue box represents the target number of eye examinations, let's say 100 a week, and the response that we'd normally get to recall is usually 50%, but at Christmas it's 25% because we know more people reject our entreaties to come in for sight tests in the festive period. As if you wanted 100 tests on a 50% response rate, you'd need to do 200 letters. If you want 100% with a 25% response rate, you need to do 400. What about, instead of doing just more recall, maybe do it smarter? We know for a fact that if you put the right person on the phone, smiley, friendly, and they use a simple script, "Hi, it's Andy, it's time for an eye test. Do you want to come in next week or the week after?" The response can be very, very good from the patients who like you best. So telephone recall can be far more effective, particularly in quiet times, than letters or emails. But the key is to make sure you put the right person on the phone. Think about using seasonal messages either in postcards or letters. If you actually mention the season, the response rate is greater, we've found. And certainly looking at postcards over letters for people who are just on routine eye examinations can be a very good idea. Let's think about other things that people might be interested in at Christmas as well. So it's not just routine eye examinations. People dress up at Christmas. You could think about talking about fashion, have a new look for Christmas or a new look for the new year. To support that, in November, think about doing a VIP event. Come in, see the latest frames, we'll do your style consultation, we'll maybe give you an incentive on the day to buy more glasses. These are all things that can boost your sales in a quiet period. If you're going to have a promotion, say a sale in the new year, well, invite your best patients along to the sales preview evening. Give them a glass of eggnog and a mince pie and let them snap up the best bargains first. Think about the things that you perhaps don't normally spend as much time and effort on when you're really busy with sight tests. Maybe bring in teens to try out some contact lenses or do a contact lens open day. Everybody likes a bit of a bargain, so maybe if you want to drive more sales at Christmas, think about handing out vouchers in the practice. You could have £20 off a frame if you use it before Christmas, or you could use this one instead towards your lenses, or this could give you a second pair, and so on. So give people a reason to buy now. While we're considering promotions, there are two types of promotions that you could consider around this period. One is going into the dip, which is your Christmas campaign, and then change it as soon as you can after Boxing Day to the New Year campaign. But something like a free lens campaign properly delivered can work really, really well. Run it from the start to the middle of November, right through to just after Christmas, and then maybe come back with a strong campaign, perhaps a sale for the new year. Think about sending out postcards for your recall, explaining the incentive, or put a leaflet in with the letter. And remember that you can write to people at times other than when they're due an eye test. We call this timeline marketing, and just write into the database to the people who are between eye examinations or the people who've recently ignored the last 2 recall letters to say, look, we've got some great stuff going on. It'll bring more in. To beat the dip then, you have to do things differently. You have to do more, maybe you have to offer more, maybe you have to be more. But you can look at upgrading the type of recall that you'd get so you get a better response, maybe with telephone or with postcards. You could focus on fashion and talk about style. You could do VIP days. You could consider using incentives to get people to purchase with offers that are handed out in the practice, or you could put on promotions that you can broadcast to the town. Our experience is that people who spend time properly planning on how they're going to beat the dip do beat the dip very, very well, and usually can enjoy quite a merry, festive season. So on that note, I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas too, with a dip thoroughly beaten.